folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Are you ready for a dark winter? It's something that's been talked about for about a year now, maybe a little bit more. People were worried that last year was going to be the big one leading up into the election and then afterwards. But could this winter be it? Or just could this winter be pretty rough? And this video is kind of a continuation of yesterday's talk on the supply chain and how it's breaking down. And I want to show you some other things that seem to be setting up the stage for winter. This winter and into the spring could get pretty rough, and why we need to be more prepared for that. Before I get started into that, I want to mention a couple of things. Number one, we're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers on this channel. We're getting pretty close. And when we do, we plan on doing a giveaway. We're going to have a live stream, and we're going to give away a bunch of stuff that my wife and I have been kind of collecting and putting together so that you folks can walk away with some gifts on just our gratitude for supporting this channel as long as you have. So if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and do so today. And some of these things that we've collected are pretty cool. A lot of locally made stuff, soaps and creams and different things that are produced here locally, and they're pretty cool stuff, as well as some other things. Also, if you are in the market to stock up more on your emergency foods, why don't you check out preparewithtravis.com. It's a website that I work with My Patriot Supply, which is one of the best suppliers of freeze-dried emergency foods. They are fellow patriots just like ourselves. They're very much like-minded, and they offer a really good product for the price, and a lot of things that, you know, pretty much can fit just about any budget over there at preparewithtravis.com. All right, now let's get into this. One more thing, I guess I should say. If my voice sounds a little raspy, I'm dealing with some allergies that I occasionally have to deal with. Last few days I've been waking up with stuffy nose and puffy eyes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing some drinking certain teas and stuff to kind of take care of that problem. But anyways, so about a week ago, I did a video on the rent moratorium that has ended because of the Supreme Court decision. You're all pretty much aware of that. And then also we talked about this extension of additional unemployment is going to come to an end. And I believe that's actually tomorrow. Then there's one more thing. At the end of this month, there is the mortgage forbearance program is going to end. And much like the rent moratorium, the mortgage forbearance program is for homeowners. And it's estimated that about 1.7 million homes fall under this forbearance program, and it's coming to an end. The White House has indicated that they have no interest in continuing it on. So what we're looking at, in addition to renters losing their home, there could be a lot of homeowners that lose their home. Already we're seeing reports of investors and banks, you know, trying to buy out homeowners. There's a prediction of a flood of houses on the market for sale because people are trying to get out from under their mortgages before they're foreclosed on. And then most certainly there's going to be some people that just go through foreclosure because of a year and a half of not paying their rent or their mortgage, and then all the fees and penalties that are building up because of that. That in itself, added to the rent moratorium, the unemployment that's been cut back, is going to create a wave of problems. And so we take that and we add it to all these other things. All these other things that I believe, like I said yesterday, is part of why they're trying to distract the American people. They're distracting the American people with all this stuff that's going on in the news. And so that people aren't really aware of how bad things are getting and how it's kind of spiraling out of control. So we're going to have a bunch of people not having any income, people not having a place to live, and it's all coming to a head starting this fall and this winter. And I'm sure it will continue on into the spring and summer. But that is only part of the problem. As I said yesterday, we have all this supply chain. They're already talking about in the news, you know, they're not really mentioning that people should stock up on stuff. What they're saying is that, oh, your Christmas might, you know, not be as good. You might not be able to get the stuff that you need to be ready, that it could be a bad Christmas for a lot of people, a bad holiday, because, well, there just isn't going to be enough supplies to go around, enough goods, enough toys, enough things, because of all the different supply chain problems there are. heaven forbid they actually tell people, you better stock up on some food while you're at it, because that's what's really in short supply. If you look at what's going on with, crops, this has been happening now for quite a while, excuse me. Last year was a pretty rough year for most of the agricultural industry, and this year has certainly not gotten any better. While there are certainly places like Iowa and Illinois and Indiana that have done pretty well with their crops, further you go west, it's gotten much worse because of the droughts and wildfires and other things that's happening. Down south, there's been a lot of, and especially the southeast, a lot of flooding. Of course, there was Hurricane Ida that's caused some disruption and problems down there, not just with the supply chain, but also the agricultural industry and the oil industry, as we mentioned, with all the shutdowns of the oil production rigs and stuff in the Gulf Coast. But this isn't just a U.S. thing. This is happening all over. China has been dealing with droughts and flooding in different regions for the last few years, and it's just gotten worse to the point that they're just buying up everything possible. They are kind of the ultimate preppers on the planet, and they've been, stockpiling everything that they can get their hands on. Down in South America, they've dealt with a lot of droughts down there, which has really hurt their crop production. And then over in Europe, they dealt with a very long winter into the spring, and then a lot of flooding after that and storms. So, just food production in general is not doing very well right now. I understand that there are certain areas that people have done pretty well, but when you consider all the stuff that's happened over the past year and a half, shutdowns, plant shutdowns, various disruptions in the production of food, whether it's on the crops, harvesting it, cattle, not being able to get it to market, not being able to get it processed, the dumping of milk, dealing with all the shutdowns and lockdowns we had where there wasn't a market for a lot of this stuff. So a lot of crops were just being wasted. There's just a lot of problems that are happening. And it seems to all be coming to a head this winter. And so I just want to get this information out to you folks, not to get you scared. My goal on this channel is to never, get you all hyped up in fear that the sky is falling. The sky may not be falling. But what we do know is that there's a lot of problems that are happening that could indicate that times could be becoming very tough. We're also dealing with the financial markets, and the food costs in general are increased, but the buying power of the dollar has decreased with the continual uptick of inflation. When you put all of these things together, folks, and then of course this warning that the health crisis come this winter could be the worst yet. I think that there's a strong possibility that for at least a lot of folks, this winter, fall, winter, and into spring could be a pretty rough time. So my advice would be to stock up as much as you can. When you put all of this together, it's maybe not any one thing is the end-all doomsday event, but when you put all these pieces together and you look back over what's happened and all the damage and the cracks into the system in the past year and a half, we are certainly setting ourselves up for a very potential rough season. And then, of course, look at the weather. The Farmer's Almanac is predicting a pretty rough winter for some places in the United States. And, we had one last year. We're still in the grand solar minimum, which is affecting the seasonal changes all across the northern hemisphere. So I would expect another one. If you guys heat with wood, for instance, you probably should be stocking up early. I've seen the cost of firewood has gone up quite a bit since last year, depending on the area of the country that you're in. Gasoline, of course, is increased. So if you use that for your generators and backup supplies, you should, certainly have a good supply of gasoline. Food in general, you should be stocking up on. Different crops just aren't doing very good right now. Mainly corn and wheat are the two biggest ones because of, and again, in certain areas they've done really well. But in other areas, because of the drought, the quality of the crop has not been very well. That's been the biggest problem. The wheat berries aren't getting full size, and the corn is just it's struggling in certain areas because of droughts or because of storms. And all these prices have been kind of high. Some have come down just a little bit. But there's also been just a lot of increase in prices around because of various different things. So you should be stocking up on all of these things as much as you possibly can, because as many of you know, it's like the chessboard is being set up little by little to create a scenario where we could fall into a very serious catastrophe here in the United States. For the reasons we may not fully know, but we can, speculate that it's so that, initiatives from the UN, like the Agenda 2030 initiative and the Great Reset from the World Economic Forum, establishing global governance and, more sustainable practices and all this kind of stuff can kind of sweep in and save the day. If in fact that's the case or not, we don't really know. But the point is, folks, is that we're seeing all these signs happening around us that I believe a decently intelligent person should be able to look at and say, it's time to get serious. It's time to stock up. It's time to prepare as much as possible. So whether or not we really know what the end outcome is, I think it's safe to say that between now and that point, regardless of what the outcome is, we could see some pretty rough time, and we could see food prices increase. They've already gone up. And the odds of by this winter, those costs going up even higher are probably, it's probably a sure thing. You've got kids going back to school, so there's a need for more food in cafeterias. More people, usually the food supply is a little bit more strained during the wintertime. People stay home, they're buying more groceries. And more, holidays, family get-togethers. It's typically a time where people eat more, which is why we gain weight typically in the wintertime. Folks, again, I don't know the end results. I don't know how it's gonna all play out. But I'm telling you, when you sit back and you see all the indicators, the things that are happening, the stuff that is being mentioned in the news around the world and here in the United States, I think it's safe to say that it's time that we step up the plate and get serious about preparing. So folks, however that looks for you, however much money you put into it, however much effort you put into it, whether you're doing it with your family, your local community of preparedness-minded folks, whatever it is, I think that we could see a pretty rough winter and season going into the spring because of all the stuff that's being kind of played out. So again, don't allow yourself to get so distracted by the stuff that they're throwing at us, in the news. Not saying it's not important, but that there are things going on, and I believe this supply chain, the amount of people that could be homeless, the amount of people that aren't making the income that they're used to, the food supply that seems to be breaking down, all of that coming to a head, I think that truly is the big elephant in the room, at least right now, that we should be focusing on. All right, folks, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.